Now, we've mentioned in passing Tyson Fury a number of times already, but let's talk about him specifically. When was the last time you spoke to him? I saw you visited him at his home in Morecambe recently.
I went to see him last week. I went up to see him and went out for some lunch with him in Paris, and I spoke to him a couple of times on the phone. We don't drive each other mad, and he's in a good place. He's very happy. He's back with his family, having had a very long and drawn out training camp, and it's good for him to get back with his kids and spend some time with them and the family.
And from speaking to him, obviously he's elated with the victory. Do you see him continuing the relationship with Sugar Hill Steward and training over there going forward?
I think he will. He did a good job. He provided him what he needed. That's what I said from the beginning. With Tyson, when he changed trainers, he's not stupid. He's a very, very astute boxing man. He understands the sport. He understands what he needs to add to his armoury, and Sugar Hill did that. That was his choice alone. Nobody else. He picked him and did what he had to do. Same as he picked Ben Davison. When he got Ben, everyone was saying, "Who's Ben Davison?" at the time. So Ben's gone on to do some good things now, and good luck to him. He's doing well. He's got a couple of good fighters that he's training, world-class fighters, world champions. And Tyson will do what he always does, which is to do the best for Tyson Fury.
What did you make of the ITV documentary on Tyson, the Gypsy King?
I loved it. I thought it was really good. I thought it was, it's quite enlightening. It's nice to see the other side of a boxer's life. It was quite interesting, and I think a couple of stars come out of it, didn't they?
Was there anything that you saw in a documentary that surprised you, something you didn't know about Tyson?
What I see now, I didn't know at the time, was the wrestling.
Oh, you didn't know about that at all?
No, he went to a wrestling match. He didn't even go there he just went to a wrestling match and never got involved in wrestling. But that's Tyson. He's very spontaneous, and I mean, you look at what he's done in the last 18 months or so, whatever period it is since he's come back. Besides the weight and the terrible place he was in and where he's got himself to, it's phenomenal. It's the biggest comeback in any sport, bar none, in the most dangerous of sports. The toughest of all sports. And he come back and done it. Not he just done it, he's done it in style and proven to the world that he is the #1 heavyweight out there. I mean, destroyed a guy who was considered to be by some the hardest punching heavyweight statistically of all time. Certainly in my time, the hardest punching heavyweight in the last 35 or 40 years, maybe 35 years. And we just took him to school, done a job on him out, boxed him out, fought him, and did what I felt he could do, which was to stop him, and he done that.
With that in mind, it was so dominant. Is there any point in the rematch?
Well,
it's
contractually bound to happen, and that's where we've told everybody that before the fight. I'm reading all this stuff that's being said and all this rubbish that's going around. That's what the position was. The same it was in AJ's. For AJ to keep his title, he's got to fight Pulev, and that's what he's had to do.
When's it likely to be? We're hearing maybe July?
Don't know yet. There's some meetings taking place and see what happens.
And projecting further forward, you mentioned earlier about potential super fight between Tyson and AJ. There's been talk from some parties that there's already been discussions had. You came out and said that's not true. Just clear that up for us.
Clear it up. There was a lot of points made by Matchroom saying that they've been talking with Bob Arum. Eddie Hearn said he'd been talking to him, and they're close to doing a deal. And Bob Arum and I did a press conference last week where Bob Arum said, I'll use the words, it's ludicrous. His words, not mine, it's ludicrous, and that's not true. And the only way this deal is going to happen is for all of us to get round the table. And that's what we want to do. And what everybody else, whatever, no matter what anyone else is saying, that's the only way it's going to happen. And we want it to happen. We want to deliver it to the fans. It's not about my ego or anybody's ego. It's about these two fighters. And at the end of the day, based upon if we all get round the table and decide, it's then going to be, from our perspective, for Tyson to see if he wants to do it or not. Because at the end of the day, it's his decision. Nobody else's, not mine, nobody's. Not Bob Arum's, no one's. It's down to Tyson Fury.
Now, some people say the fight should go wherever it's going to make the most money. Do you think it'd be a travesty, though, if it didn't take place in the UK?
I can go back and think of all the great fights over the years that have taken place. I can think of, Zaire, the Rumble in the Jungle. Should that have been in Zaire or should it have been in the US? Was it a travesty it went to Zaire? Look back on it, no, it wasn't. It's part of boxing folklore, sporting folklore, the Rumble in the Jungle. You think of the Thriller in Manila, the two guys going there, two Americans going there, not in their home country. Was that a travesty? No, it goes back again to be one of the great moments in sport. Is it a travesty that Gareth Bale leaves the UK and goes and plays football at Real Madrid? He goes to play for them.
Not when he was at Tottenham, no.
Yeah, well, exactly. But
if he'd have left the better
where else
team,
would you go?
Not getting so much trouble.
Or if you look at David Beckham and various other fighters and sportsmen over the year, they've got very short life, and they ply their trade and get paid wherever they can make the most money. And boxing, as I keep saying, is the most dangerous of all sports. So they've got to get paid. And if somebody wants to put the money up, a country or a person wants to guarantee the money, then that's something for everybody to consider and do. If the UK can make it happen, then I'm sure all of us, Tyson, AJ, Matchroom, us, we'd all love it to be in the UK. But as if it maximises the income that it can generate.
And what about the UK TV situation? Is there any possibility once you get round that table, as you've talked about, that it can be split?
Everything's for negotiation, but the contractual position is that, like I told you before, is that BT have the last rights. So whatever happens, it's got to be down to BT.
But could there be an agreement between the broadcasters?
Well, of course they can. I mean, look, the only way you're going to get all these, it's no good even me telling you, I'm not being avoiding it. The only way any of these things are going to be answered is for the people involved to get round a table. And if you don't get round a table, it's never going to happen. That's the only way it can happen. It's the only way it can be delivered. It's not for me to say what the other side are going to be doing. It's not for me to say that I'll only speak to Freddie Cunningham. I won't speak to Eddie Hearn. That's not how it works. It's up to everybody to act like adults and stop spouting their mouths off and moving forward.
I mean, we saw with Wilder Fury rematch that was split across the two different broadcasters in the US. So there's a model there.
Well, it's happened in the past before. HBO and Showtime have shared broadcast, and if that's what it takes for it to happen, I will bang the drum and make sure at our end we're pushing hard as we can to make it happen.
And before we leave the Fury subject behind, I just want to ask you, long esteemed career, where does that sit in terms of victories from your fighters?
Best. Because it's top, elite fighters, the two best heavyweights out there. Going into that fight, two undefeated heavyweights. What was he, 6 years? 6 years as champion, Deontay Wilder. I mentioned earlier that knockout ratio and so forth. And hardly any press gave Tyson a chance going into that fight. They all were going the other way. He went. Not only did he win the fight, he absolutely won it in the best style, and destroyed him. And that, to me, beating an elite fighter at his best, that is nothing better than that. Joe Calzaghe did that with Kessler when Kessler was at his best. Another great fight. But when I look at the danger that Deontay Wilder brought, and that power that he had, and how comprehensively Tyson took him apart, that's the best.